Welcome back to the Maturity Project. I am your host, Chad Everett Broshears. If you're new to the channel, welcome. We talk about 8 different areas of maturity. If you've been to the channel before, welcome back. Love having you guys. Thank you for all the growth and for the new subscribers and really putting together the community and the process of helping create new insights just so we can support more and more people to free them from their own suffering, the challenges, the maturity that we typically lack because our authorities, our parents, their parents, our lineage may miss out on, or have not been able to pass down because of having to deal with their own chaos in life. So this is dedicated to help share and give insights. We don't do advice on this channel, by the way. You have to be a client of mine to get advice from me. I will say that the reason for that is that it just takes too much. I don't know enough to really give advice, and to just start throwing stuff out there to say you should do something specific is just irresponsible, in my opinion, if I don't know your resources, your abilities to follow through, your cognitive functions, your desires, your attachments, your motivations. There's just too much. So let's just throw out some insights and let you collect that information and do what you like with it. My goal is just to keep you from feeling like you're painted into a corner. 8 different areas of maturity. Today we're going to talk about financial maturity. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a financial planner. I don't do investments like that. I will tell you that of the 8 areas of maturity, this is one of my weakest areas. I am not your guru. I am not the guy that's going to tell you how to be financially mature to the point that you're going to be, opening up your own investment firm, things like that. That's not my skill set. It's not that I'm not interested. It's not that I'm not curious. And I'm going to share with you today, kind of the ugly of it for me. This is intended to let you really kind of connect. And I will have people that are far more financially mature than I am to contribute to this particular area of maturity to help give you and myself opportunities, insights, and direction to become more and more financially secure and mature. So there's no investments coming out of this. I'm not going to jump in here and start throwing around stuff about crypto or anything else, and I do not and will not ascribe to any get-rich-quick schemes. If I hear emotional leveraging when money is being talked about, I sit back and let the person say what they want to say. But I also hold my emotions back, because if I see that that's what's being excited, I'm not that interested, because that's a manipulation to me. And I want to see that it actually has validity before I let my emotions to even play around in it. So, all right. With that being said, the goal is to grow, right? We grow through what we go through. So now, my upbringing when it comes to finances, this is what these earlier videos are about. As I have continued to really reinvent myself along the way to come up with a better way of connecting and communicating. Let go of the look good, let go of all the other nonsense, so that we can just connect. You can see the genuine and sincere person. I'm not trying to overly professionalize this entire thing. So quality will go up in production and things like that as I move along, no doubt. But, I'm not going to sit back and wait till that one day when I can throw all this money into this. It's just going to grow through it right now. So I'm flawed. I'm putting it out there. So, all right, let's get into the financial maturity aspects. So, financial maturity has a lot to do. I mean, there's a lot when it comes to financial maturity. You do not have to have the business conversation yet. Business maturity is actually the next one in the maturity categories. So I will speak about that in the next video. But financial maturity it also has to do, it's not just what you can earn, your time exchanged for money, because investments is more of what people argue and say that's making money. I'm not going to be here to split the definitions or to create some sort of a linguistic argument, a semantical argument. That's not what I'm after with this. I don't care which way you want to look at it. you work for a specific amount of money, you do have a capped value on that. You can only make so much money within that range of time. If it is an hourly rate based thing, whether it's overtime or double time or any of that stuff, you still have a parameter around that amount of money. I'm not knocking it. I'm not saying it's the ideal direction, nothing like that. It's just the happenstance for people. So you make a specific amount of money. Now, you have what you make by the end of the week, what you make by the end of the month. Most of our bills are based off of a monthly basis. Now, some people do weekly based things like that. Some people do paycheck advances, things like that as well. I find that that's a downward spiral to a possible death spiral when you get into the paycheck advances. So be careful with those. But I'm not here to give you advice in any direction. Just saying that for me personally, I'm not going. Not doing that one. So where you, like when you go to a car lot, go buy a car, you have to consider what commitment you're making financially. I have found that myself and many other people sit with the highest degree of optimism for behavior change to satisfy the amount that you're going and willing to pay on a monthly basis for a vehicle. Where you'll tell yourself, I'll pay this off in half the time because I'll make double payments, where I will pay, 1.5 times my payment or something like that. The likelihood that's going to happen is incredibly low. They actually do have statistical values on that. The financial institutions use those to gauge profitability for projections, things like that. So just know that that's there, and that we do tell ourselves that. That's not uncommon. Some people can follow through with it, but there's actually a small percentage of people that actually can. But it's when you make that decision, that has to do with your maturity. When you take out credit cards, that has the same phenomena occurring typically. Where you're like, yeah, I can spend this, but I'll pay it back. I'll get it whenever income tax time comes around or whatever. And you just create these promises to yourself you may or may not be able to live into. On average, most people don't live into it. So that's part of it, the contracts you make, because even if it's just a monthly subscription to something, I find that also fewer and fewer people now keep their own books because of the digital world, and they can check their bank accounts on a regular basis. That to me has enabled people to have irresponsible spending habits. Now, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm not here to cast stones, and I'm not here to make people wrong for the things they're doing. That's not what I'm about. Some people need to go through the lesson. They've got to. You have to understand the importance of what the lesson actually stands for so you can come up with a better outcome. So now, as far as those things are concerned, there is a bit more to financial maturity. I'm not going to cover the entire area of maturity here. I am just introducing something about what it actually is, and then get into kind of my ugly past with it. So when people are like, okay, well, you know what, because of different reasons you have specific privileges. None of us are created the same. We all come from different backgrounds, even whenever we live in the same towns, even if we have the same family members. The direction that a family goes in can create different viewpoints and reality based off the concepts of the world and the narrative that that family is willing to give to their children that will continue to pass down most likely. It increases the likelihood that it'll pass down because it is present for those children. So they may believe that they're broke and they're going to stay broke, and there's an impoverished mindset that actually helps keep people in the impoverished world. It is not thinking that you're poor, it's the spending habits that associate themselves with being poor. So the spending habits that associate themselves with being wealthy has to do with the way that people understand to save and invest. Spend less than you make on a monthly basis. There's another conversation that somebody else will step into this and go through. That will be about actually leveraging debt for your success, but that's in a business model and how to grow it. That actually leads back into the financial element of aspects of maturity. That's for another conversation. So if you're catching yourself thinking that way, hold off on that. It will come later on. So now, as far as my upbringing, my father and my mother, more traditional. Mother was a stay-at-home. My parents were both born in the 40s, 1940s, and both of them, my father worked and my mother was a stay-at-home. And we were considered to be kind of the lower end of middle class. The timeline, I believe my father made somewhere around $80,000 to $90,000, but he had at the time, 5 children, four of which lived at home. Actually, five. All five of us lived at home for a period of time, and then one brother moved out, and then it was the other four of us. And my mother, all living at the house or at home. My oldest brother, Adam, had cerebral palsy, so he was bedridden and stuck at the house, and really couldn't do a whole lot. And we had 24-hour nursing assistants, but that was actually covered by our insurance, thank God, because that is not a cheap thing. We wouldn't have been able to afford it. So, but my father really did not let my mother know how much money he had, because he also had hunting trips. He was gone almost every weekend, but we were typically with him when we were gone. My father kept money in the bank account that she had access to pay all the bills for the house, and then a little extra, on top of groceries and, stuff for us and things like that. My father was also a bit of a frugal man when it came to an allowance that we could actually have. Like, it would take an act or a miracle to get my parents to be able to even buy a video game for us back when we were younger. We would get them, but it took a lot of effort. It wasn't like go to the store now and, parents are like, whatever, let's grab one. No, it wasn't like that at all. By the way, back then it was Atari, if you know what that is, and then there was the regular Nintendo and the Sega Genesis and that kind of stuff. But that's not what this video is about either. But anyway, that was, so it wasn't like we actually had access to a whole lot of money. Our father did not let our mother know everything that he made. And my mother, she was susceptible to things like why I have a caution and why I share my caution with people about get rich quick schemes is my mother fell for Avon, which is a company. I actually think they're still around. And she had her little coin bag thing that was Avon purse. That was anything that her people would buy Avon products, which is just like, healthcare stuff like that. I'm sorry, beauty and stuff like it was just, whatever. It was an early multi-level marketing type of thing. And, she would get products from them and she would, sell it to some of the people that she knew. And some of the nurses would buy it from her, stuff like that. She'd give it a little coin bag. And she had a habit of dipping into that, and spending that money when she needed it. And then she would just, pay the company what she owed them, Avon, whenever my father's paycheck would go into the account. So she kind of did her own little thing there. So my mother had a very aggressive, and she's still with us, and I love my mother to death. This is not me trash talking her. It's just her what I inherited from her is a version of her behaviors. It's not exact. I don't like to spend money frivolously, so that's not my thing, but I did get influences from her because I spent most of my time with her. And my father, they hid money from the family because it was my mother's spending habits. He didn't want to find out that, it was all gone, because if it was in the account, my mom kind of wanted to spend it, so he knew that. So he kept it so that she would just be slightly above breaking even in the account, right? Getting to zero, so he kept his money separate so that wouldn't happen. And he also liked to do his things, right? He had multiple boats, multiple cars, but they were fixer-uppers. They weren't like brand new vehicles off the lot. But my father's very mechanically inclined. He influenced me to be the same way, which I did take a lot of those lessons, and I appreciate that in my adult life. At the time, not so much. I digress, though. So my father never really got, and my father had he had a much higher degree of financial maturity than my mother did. My father didn't carry a lot of credit card debt either. My mother did. So they did by the fact they're married, but my father did not rack up credit cards on his own. He actually typically kept those things paid off for very low balance on a high card, high availability. But those were his own. He had multiple different bank accounts, things like that. Again, he was middle class. He was not a wealthy man, like as far as like excessively wealthy. So we didn't come up with a significant degree of abundance. We had the big house in the neighborhood, but it was because we had a big family compared to other families, but that was it. My father worked for the power company. He was working in, it's called INC, which is instrumentation and calibrations in a nuclear facility, nuclear power plant, which you have to have a very high IQ for that position. It's not, you don't just apply and get in. There's a lot of criteria to passing tests for that. I state that because my father is the smartest man and the most intelligent man I've ever met. I'm not saying that because he's my father. It's because of my observation of the trait values that I can assess. And I'm not saying I'm Mensa. I'm not actually out doing IQ tests. This is just from my experience throughout my life. But I am aware of those other things. I've gone through IQ tests and things like that. So, all right. So, because my father hid money from us, he had to kind of take a different route when it came to teaching us financial maturity. But it was not categorical for him. It was just when the time struck in his mind to discuss financial maturity. You know, he did a lot of, he worked mathematically with me often. He could do mathematical equations in his head, and they would be fairly complex, multiple different formulas and theorems, but I'm not that guy. I'm not gifted in that way. But it happens that I'm more down the road of psychology more so than my father, but he's more mathematical than I am. But my father, again, he passed away in 2006, so unfortunately he's not with us anymore. So had they both been able to come together, they could have maturely developed a way of teaching all of us and develop themselves, but they just did not have that kind of relationship. I'm not holding it against them. I've got a lot of lessons out of that in my life, so therefore I can speak in multiple different ways and to multiple different people with life experiences, and why I also am looking to bring somebody in that has a higher degree of financial maturity than I have. But the point of this is that this is actually my weakest area of maturity of the 8 areas. That's not a brag, and it's not to say don't listen to me. That's not what this channel is about either. My goal is to give you insights so that you don't feel alone. In the greater scheme of things, financial maturity is a required aspect to having a fulfilled life. Because if you are financially struggling, it is really hard to feel fulfillment in your life, because you're going to be stricken with a great degree of worry, or you're going to be stricken with degrees of worry. Great degree would be subjective, but that's still up to you. So you have to come up with that. It's going to be, find balance, and you will find more fulfillment, because you can be present to things. And really, fulfillment is how present are you to the experiences and moments in your life. The more you're in your head, projecting yourself into another place, whether that's later on whenever things are better, or you've taken certain actions, you get to a certain place, fantasies and daydreams, those all take you away from being present. The present moment is what creates fulfillment. If you fantasize all the time, and then that moment comes along where those fantasies become reality, you're so well practiced into fantasizing you can't be present. It's really challenging. Now, I can speak about that from one of my most strongest and most developed areas of maturity. And I'll get to that as well. That's actually going to be it's 2 areas from now, sexuality. So that's not a brag either, by the way. Wait for that episode. It's going to be a pretty interesting one. Some people may make me look good, and some people may think it makes me look bad, but I'm just going to be very genuine and sincere when I get to that category. But anyway, so here we are, financial maturity. It is something, right? It's beyond just investing, but that actually is an indicator of the degree of financial maturity that you have. So that's in there, but it is an aspect that we need to actually put a focus on. You will get that through this education. I will get that through this education. That's a great thing about this, is that I just happen to understand the way this stuff works, and I know there's 8 different areas, and there's a vehicle to teach maturity to people where they're not going, ooh, I don't want to grow up, which is actually incredibly common, by the way. That's what I hear from most people when I talk about maturity. I don't want to grow up. I like having fun. I'm like, no, maturity's not that. It's not losing fun. Actually, being more mature increases your fun, because the more mature you are, the less insecurities affect you. The less mature you are, the more insecurities affect you. So when you're playing and having fun, you will care more about how people receive you when you're more insecure than when you're more mature and less insecure. You won't care as much, because you own who you are more, which gives you more fulfillment in the moment, which gives you a better experience of life. So, all right. This will be a shorter video simply because of the category. There is quite a bit to this category, but I don't want to go down a lot of pathways on this one specific because I really want to put out my upbringing and how it affected me to this point. So I will say that I have a, some challenges when it comes to paying for credit, which is what secured credit cards are. You actually are paying for them to vouch for you that you're credit worthy. I actually got into some of those in my teen years, and I can tell you that they pissed me off beyond belief because they didn't sell it that way. Whenever I got them on the phone and I applied for those types of credit cards, if you know and understand it, it can be an access to you and for you. It's not one that I actually appreciate myself by much because I don't. It seems like it's just kind of like continuing to stack the deck and rig the system against people. But some people, it's a faster way to access more opportunities. It's not my thing. And like I said, I will have people that are a bit more financially mature than I am in this education. So this is not the look good episode. This is just the real ugly of the reality of things. So I am not carrying significant debt, anything like that. I just this is an area that I do have a high degree of focus and interest in developing while life continues to happen around me. So I have definitely been in the positions where I've made more than $100,000 a year and comfortably continuing that. I did realize though that when I was doing jobs, and I'll add this before I end the episode, I worked for a company. It was Progress Energy, which is later bought out by Duke Energy, which is power companies. I spent about 11 years in the power industry in my life. Did not matter how much money I was making, the more miserable I was, or the less I actually felt fulfilled in my experience of life and work, the more money I spent. I was, God, I was making a very good living at the time. At least I had nice large paychecks, but I spent it all. I would buy the brand new phone when it would come out. You name it. I was spending money as soon as I was off work because I was dissatisfied with life. I was not feeling very fulfilled, and I felt that spending my money was going to help me feel fulfilled. I'll tell you right now, as a financial maturity aspect of it all, that doesn't work. That's not how any of it works. You're not going to feel more fulfilled. You can go on a vacation. You can spend the most money in the world to go off on a vacation. You're sitting in one of the most beautiful, sought-after tropical vacation places, and you're thinking about everything except for where you are. Yeah. The more mature you are, the more you can be present to your feet in the sand. The water, being out snorkeling, things like that. So, yeah. Anyway, all right, that'll come. If you want fulfillment in your life, this is the channel for you. All right, it's one of them. I plan to continue to create better and better content for you. So stick with me. All right, this is a growing process. This may come across to some people as cringy. That's fine. I am not going to join you in complaints about humanity. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to join in with the people that want to create solutions for the challenges that we go through. It does not matter the background in my videos, the quality of the microphone, which actually this is not a bad microphone, but the background noise you hear, traffic driving through, things like that. I don't care. I'm here because I want to inspire opportunities, okay? And I'm willing to put this stuff out there because, look, I'm okay with looking bad. I am not stricken with fear about looking bad and constantly having to look good. I have lost many arguments because I'm willing to concede that I don't know something, but it's kind of arguable if you really lose the argument when you ask somebody to help you understand something that you don't fully understand, and they've got you to the point you understand that you don't, right? That has to do with looking good, by the way. That's typical of what's behind strong arguments when you know the person's wrong. They just don't want to accept the fact that they don't know something or they don't want to look bad. I'm not making them wrong for that either. It's human nature to try to protect yourself. This just has different layers of protection concepts. So anyway, all right, now that I've gone off script a little bit here, just know that I really am doing this because I love people, and I really want to try to alleviate some of the suffering and challenges that we go through. So join me in that effort, okay? Share this video with a person in your life you know this can make a difference for. This is a place to grow. This is a community to grow together, to express what love is, right? In the process of knowing that we're communal creatures and that we want to see other people's success. successful, and that we want to learn from those people that have managed those successes, because that's going to help us significantly move forward without having to go through all the hardships of the lessons and all the failures. Because, hey, when you're part of that community, everyone wants to support each other. So bring it in, okay? Share this video with that person. It's up to you to make the difference. You also need to do. You cannot think about doing things. You just have to do. Sometimes you have to do without thinking, and then you think your way through the process. You'll be surprised how fast life actually happens that way. So don't wait. Share this video. Okay. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Join this community. Comment in the comment section. I love hearing from you guys. Like the video, please. It helps with the algorithm. If you got value out of this content in any way, or you just want to see me continue to make make videos, hit the like button. Give me a little bit more of that, appreciation. It does help. I see the analytics on this, and it encourages me. I'm going to continue, but it's nice to know the community actually has something, and you will feel some degree of contribution by doing so. So, all right, till next time, I'm your host, Chad Everett Brochures. This is The Maturity Project. Today we talked about financial maturity. Remember, the path to hell is paved with good intentions. We're not going to create that with this channel or this community. We're going to stop that road being built to hell, and we're going to pave it to the utopia that we really want. So work with me on that, all right? Till next time, let's get up to something. We're going to grow through what we go through. All right, let's do it. Let's do it together.